Viktor Orbán went down in the election to Péter Magyar. It appears from early results that there's a chance that Magyar will have sort of that the majority necessary to really institute some pretty major change, because Orbán has been doing to the judiciary what Donald Trump is doing here, but he's been at it for 16 years. So there's been a lot of damage done. But Magyar, it appears that he will lead the government, parliamentary system, of course. The turnout numbers were historically high, where when we were talking about this last night, I think that the average over the past few elections, four-year terms, have been somewhere in the high 60s. And we were talking about it getting up to 72, 73. And now it appears that it's may hit 77% turnout, which will be very impressive, inspiring. We don't, here in the United States, we don't even dream of those numbers, but we should start dreaming, because it'll be necessary. The part of this, I mean, there are a number of second order effects from Orbán's laws. We talked on both of the two earlier Hungary focused podcasts about Vladimir Putin's particular exposure should Orbán lose. So Orbán was his tame agent, his tame asset, and would do whatever Putin told him to do. And that meant that Orbán was the solo no vote on a bunch of EU and some NATO issues. Forever skeptical when Vladimir Putin is involved. Does he have somebody in the wings that he's been grooming, much like he's grooming J.D. Vance now? For, we know that if next year, 2027, goes the way the polls say they're going to go, and it will unless there's a major change, but if Marine Le Pen's party is victorious, regardless of whether she is allowed to run, which is, I think the court's going to rule on that in France before June. So that'll be a big deal. But it means that in the interim, Putin will have much less influence on NATO, and importantly and specific to this subject area, on the EU. Then those funds that have been sequestered, the EU funds that were earmarked for Hungary, will now be able to be used by Péter Magyar to help. The economy's not in great shape, because they've been taking body blows from Orbán's corruption for a very long time. So it's not on life support, but it ain't great. So it will be it'll be inspiring to see how he does. Now, again, like I counseled yesterday in the earlier podcast as well last week, that Péter Magyar is not. He is not. He's not Zoran Mamdani. He is not a democratic socialist. He is a conservative. He could be equally. He could be a conservative on the level of Orbán, but he is not attached at the hip and to other more sensitive parts of the anatomy to Donald Trump, to J.D. Vance, and most importantly, to Vladimir Putin. Time will tell. We talked about Orbán many decades ago, coming up as a strong anti-communist politician. That's how he made his bones in Hungarian politics, was having lived through the communist rule, uh, uh, Cold War, post World War II and Cold War. He came up, and then all of a sudden, miraculously, when his bank account started getting really, really full, about 16 years ago, he was Vladimir Putin's bitch at that point, and has been ever since. The only the only it is it appears it will be an actual landslide, not a Donald Trump by 1 or 2% landslide, but an actual landslide. So the final numbers, we talked about the turnout being north of 75%, expecting Magyar to his party to get 66, to get a 2/3 majority in the parliament, which is saying something. You can get shit done. Hope it goes a little bit higher, because you don't want it to be on that ambiguous line. That was maybe an ambiguous line that some people bet about whether he would whether he would better that amount, whether his party, Magyar's party, would better that number in the elections. And there's still some counting to be done. There's still, as we know, post-election, there is all sorts of fiddle faddle, ballyhoo, and crazy, sinister vote manipulation shit that goes on. The one of the saving graces, we talked about the DSA, the Digital Services Act. One of the tremendous parts of that program, that framework, the mechanism, is that they stay in place on the ground for 1 full week following the election. So you have observers on the ground investigating for 1 full week. So we will have a very, as I spoke about, we will learn a lot about what we have coming towards or barreling towards us in November. Now, since this is Sunday, we want dessert. We want sweets, maybe some chocolate, maybe some champagne if you are inclined to drink some of the devil's brew with the alcoholic content in it. If the numbers hold up, and your boy Donald J. Trump, who just fucked up the Iran deal and continues to, every time he opens his mouth or his True Social account, is just digging a hole ever deeper. Netanyahu, I'll get onto him in a minute, but J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, Netanyahu himself, the people that endorsed, not just vociferously supported a candidate that is beholden to, the reason they did it is because he's Putin's boy, and they know where all of them know where their bread is buttered, right? Including Netanyahu. There's that influence, the strands of that wicked web extend to Netanyahu, not to the degree they do to Trump, but if you think about it, the all hands on deck approach, that if Trump is under the influence, the degree to which Trump is under the influence of Putin affects Netanyahu directly and indirectly. So, but won't it be delightful? J.D. Vance will skillfully talk about it as EU interference. The DSA, they want to they want to kneecap the DSA concept because we need that. We need that yesterday in the United States. Right? That is something that is long. I was posting about that earlier today. That is something that should have been, and I'm pointing at Joe Biden too, his administration. I'm pointing at Trump 1.0. AI is something. It didn't happen yesterday. We're learning more and more about the risks with the recent Anthropic disclosures, and not disclosures alone. What Dario himself has said about the risks associated with it in cybersecurity. They're profound. We're going to learn more and more every day. It's you're going to see your if you're used to your iPhone, for instance, ordinarily sending you an alert saying, "Hey, we're going to update overnight tonight. If you're into it, you could do it now. If not, just let it happen." You're probably going to be seeing a heck of a lot more updates. That isn't an AI, the world is ending thing, but it's just if you look at the logs on the software updates, compare them to the number of times that the companies have had to patch or otherwise update software over a year, it's going to get really, really chippy in that cybersecurity area where updates are running constantly in the background. So we just I hate that it is what it is because it's so non-specific. But there's another way there's some other day when we're not on a family channel, I'll share with you what my dear father, how he used to, his corollary to the is what it is saying. And it's not pleasant, but it's, a guy that was born in what would have been 90, rest in peace, what would have been 95 years ago. So, so we move on. I'm always hesitant when Vladimir Putin, the truck pulling up overnight tonight saying, "Oh my God, these were the ballots from the Hungarian diaspora that was living in Queens," and who would have known that there were 7 million Hungarians living in Queens? They just got here, so we're going to count these and we're going to include them in the total. I'm making fun, but that just sounds like something out of Trump 2.0, Project 2025. They're fighting about mail-in ballots, but of course, if it suits their purposes, they'll find Elon will return from a planet with ballots at some point. That would have to be part of the metaphysical Italo Calvino twisted Douglas Adams. That there's a story for you. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Uncounted ballots are not your friends. Rest in peace, Douglas Adams. If you are living, and I'm going to hope that you are, if you're listening to this, but if you're living on this planet in these particular times with the level of absurdity that we deal with every day, and you have not read the Douglas Adams, aforementioned author, an Englishman who passed away a decade ago. I don't really know. What is a trilogy plus one? It's 4 books. But is there a slick word for a trilogy plus one? If there is, it escapes me. But a lot of things escape me every moment or every day. So we'll call it a quartetlogy, a 4-book series called probably The Hitchhiker's Guide. 4 books beginning with The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And then in no particular order, I mean, you're going to look at this and I'm going to fuck it up, but it's Sunday, so I'm going to try. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe. Life, the Universe, and Everything. The Planet, or the Restaurant at the End of the Universe. And my favorite title of the series, which is So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. You have to experience it. But it is an absolutely, it's a brilliantly written, satirical adventure through space and through parts of the English Highlands, I guess. I think the Highlands. It is, and if you need something, we all need to escape the dark silliness of the world. You know, there's tragedy. There are kids dying in Gaza, Lebanon, Iran, and the United States, and then all over the place, because there are increased levels of aggression brought on through a permission structure that was delivered care of wait for it, a game show host. Donald Trump felt that he was entitled to ratchet up the level of hate and aggression such that people are, in many cases at each other's throats, are taught that it's being a good human to blame other humans based on the color of their skin. And that if you're not doing well in America, then it's due to the fact that people with healthier skin complexion than you have are responsible. And that's the entire MAGA program. So aren't we fortunate? But this is going on all over the world. If you, in Hungary, which is, it's a white Christian, maybe some Orthodox. I'm not real good on the Hungarian religious mix, but I'm going to say, facing the same challenges that many parts of Western Europe did in the last 20 years, when our dear friend Angela Merkel in Germany made a very sober assessment based on the birth rate in manufacturing in Germany. We need workers. Down the way there are Turks that need to get the hell out of Turkey, and others. And then there were Afghanis in another wave. But a lot of Turks, I mean, going back to the Cold War era in Germany. There were, a large Turkish diaspora in Germany for a long time, but more later, because they needed people to build their Mercedes and their BMWs and all of the wonderful things that the very talented but genealogically or otherwise, because of the birth rate, they were aging out of the workforce and they needed more young hands. That meant that Germany became less, I'm not going to make any jokes, became less white. And that irked certain people. It happened in France too. And then the waves, whether it was Syrians or Afghans, the same thing happened. And then all of a sudden, in Great Britain as well. And, you understand, if you're used to a certain kind of life and legitimately you're unable to get the same sort of work, you would look for somebody, even if you don't do it in an ugly, verbal, racist way like Donald Trump will do. But it's, it's human nature. Like, I was earning $100,000 a year. Then I wasn't. What changed in my country? Look around. Who are the easiest people to spot? The same people from your neighborhood in the South, where everybody's hard to recognize with white hoods on. But when you look at their beady little eyes, you know that they're kind of part of the same tribe. The same thing happened to Orbán. Weaponized that, less for what was going on in Hungary, but pointing out, finding a victim and blaming him. When you can't find a victim, you create one. And that's Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin and Project 2025. These are the people that are responsible for your lot in life. You were living in a prosperous country, and now you're not. The reason that you're no longer living in a prosperous country is because these brown and black people came here, they ran across the border illegally, stole your jobs, and oh, by the way, there's a chance that they're going to attack your female offspring. Demonizing all over the world. MAGA happens here, Germany, AFD, France, Rally, and other places. Nigel Farage in Great Britain. Same line, a little bit different accent, but it's the same racist bullshit. And Orbán used that successfully with tutelage from his boy and his man from St. Petersburg to coach him and support him and send him money. And at 16 years, it worked out great. So Putin, it's an interesting contrast, like a dichotomy, that when this disappointment, again, we'll let them recount, wait for the truck to come from Queens with the votes, all those things to shake out in the next few days, and the DSA to kind of bless the vote. Excuse me. Funny, you kind observers out there, it's like, the guy never drinks water except when he gets on the podcast. Why is that? Well, I got news for you. Try the special diet program I was on, which you can see I'm not starving to death, but chemo and radiation. It kind of messes with that whole dynamic. So you get a little bit more thirsty, especially for somebody who runs his fucking mouth nonstop virtually every waking hour. So say a little prayer for my wife. So here we are. Orbán, vote counted, cleaned up, DSA, thumbs up, all good. We get to laugh at Trump, laugh at JD. I got to check the tape on Rubio, because he stopped by too. I can't remember whether his speech was as vociferously. Of course, it was pro Orbán, but it's untoward, it's unethical, it's just not done that you go in X days before an election in somebody else's country. It ain't good. Now they can't. It's not illegal, because that would be free speech, and that would be bad if you start kind of trying to jump up and down on that. But the Orbán's party will be complaining endlessly that the DSA lost him the election by limiting the the ads of the I had all of these ads with brown people running through the streets murdering our citizens, with all wearing blue and yellow T-shirts with Zelensky's picture on them, and they were AI, but I was just having fun, and DSA made me take those down, so that's not fair, right? So we're going to hear a lot of silly bullshit, but we'll learn on the positive sense, in the positive sense, that it's not insurmountable, even with all of the shenanigans. Now, as we talked about a few minutes ago, we don't have the same safety net, the DSA, in our country. We have, we'll say, good people, probably on both sides, in each of the states that are responsible for regulating behavior around elections. And some of them do great jobs, and some of them don't. Some of them will listen to the siren call, the shrill cry from DJT, saying, fake news, fake votes, fake, they're stealing the election. They're stealing it. He'll use ballots seized by various members of his cabinet. They will miraculously come up with information at the perfect inopportune time, a month before, whatever it is, before the elections in swing states. If I were the handsome and talented John Ossoff, handsome bastard, I hate you, damn it, young, handsome, well-spoken. I've had enough of you, Ossoff. They will, of course, make a big play in those states, the swing states, because that's where you can have the most impact, particularly ones with a lot of juice. And so the Pennsylvanias, the same ones we know, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Arizona, Georgia, other, where Texas will be interesting. We're going to be we'll learn some things. Cornyn very strong, and Republican Brand very strong, but can Tallarico, with his very particular message of combining faith with more general human values that we've lost, will he be able to connect with enough people, enough independents, and some Trump voters, because he'll need to do that? Can he eke out a slim victory? Not so slim that Greg Abbott can't go in and capture the ballots and screw it up, because he'll be doing it, because he's been ordered already by Trump to do it. But wouldn't it be amazing? The senatorial races, our Maine, our Alaska, and then all the ones in the middle, that there's now a fighting chance. That I shared on the platform earlier today a little tile that I extracted from Polymarket, which showed today the April 12th projections based on the limited money in the pools right now, but the numbers were on the House side. The percentages favoring Democratic Party vote not turnout, but eventual winner, most likely winner, was you know, 75. It was a big number, big number. What I was pleased to see was the Senate was a dead heat. You know, it was showing, I think it was showing 51-49 favoring Democrats or the Democratic Party. Wouldn't a year and a half ago, couldn't even dream about that. So it's going to take some doing. Ain't over till it's over, as the great man said. But we can see a path. We can learn from Victor, learn, quite frankly, the report that we'll get about the level of interference in the elections in Hungary. Hungary is not directly, it's not their situation is not analogous to what's going on here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, but it's a data point. Like we intercepted, 9 million fake ads on Twitter, X, and Meta. Of those ads, I mean, there were 90, 9-1 in favor of Orbán. And what were they saying? We talked about before. Their boogeyman was Zelensky in a way, because it's kind of like a two-headed monster that Orbán could play against, because the electorate in Hungary doesn't want to fund, they don't want to fund forever wars either, right? Like us. It's, the clock is run out on that bloodthirsty thing, unless you're Donald J. Trump and you're in declining mental health and you want to see your toys and you have Pastor Pete and Stephen Miller, then you're going to be grinding. You're going to be out there trying to kill people for your own entertainment, or just watch them suffer, even if they don't die. Because I guess maybe in the sociopath's handbook, I think the suffering is even better than the actual kill. A more sustained a more sustained sensation. I just got a little frisson. Like, I can't reach out and grab anybody by the neck right now, so I'll just have to swallow it. Yeah, they're sick and horrible people, but they're ours, and we have an election to prepare for. Congratulations to Péter Magyar. As I was just not for nothing, as the kids used to say, it's spelled Magyar, but that the G is softened as close to a D. So Magyar is closer to what it is in real life. But he doesn't give a shit, because he just absolutely he slayed today. And again, deep breath, count the votes. There will be underhanded, dirty bastards doing crazy shit for days, trying to F with the results. But this is a lesson for us, that don't get overconfident, because as we get closer to Election Day in November, there will be a human, one of our many failings is the tendency to get overconfident based on some sort of data, right? It's like, well, the Democratic Party, it looks like it's going to be one of the most consequential historical landslides in U.S. history. Which many people hear that and they're like, I'm going to fucking stay home. They don't need me. They already won. No. I think the right reaction is to be embarrassed that Hungary has twice the turnout as a percentage of voting eligible voter population. And we're supposed to be in what once was the greatest democracy in the world, and we can't show up and vote. Come on. So yeah. Anyways, pleasure always. We did the Hungarian round trip, which is probably something in one of those Hugh Hefner pieces, but I don't know. I am grateful for Peter. I am grateful, at least at the last report that I got about an hour ago, that not a lot of people got hurt. But again, it's a long game. We have to go through the week. But something we can all enjoy, and saying at least somebody else can say thanks, DJT, because his endorsement meant fucking nothing. Nothing. Garbage. Same with JD. So sit on that, JD. And you all have a beautiful night. Thank you for your time. Restack, share, subscribe, we retweet, untweet, X-tweet, and otherwise on Facebook. I'm going to do a little, I'm trying to drill down a little bit more on other platforms to work on my subscriber base. So if you see a little extra self-promotional bullshit, apologize and work with me. And anything you can do to that end would be greatly appreciated. I'm going to, within the Substack app, going to use that to connect on the, LinkedIn and Facebook, even X, and Blue Sky, and do my best to push that a little bit in the next through the end of April. So we will all. It's not a zero-sum game. We can help each other, and as I do in my posts, I ask for help. There's nothing. It doesn't require that people do anything about it, but you can politely do the same and say to me, hey, don't remember my name, just say, hey, asshole, hey, masshole, hey, Celtics fan, hey, Red Sox fan. The other day, I subscribed to you and sent you a nice note, and you didn't give me anything. Nothing back, no feedback, no thank you, nothing. I need that kind of correction. So feel free to do so. Another in the long list of Just Ask My Wife. Thank you. Have a beautiful night, and we will catch up with you tomorrow sometime. Thank you.